Alright, this is class 8 of my arithmetic course. This is a continuation of the last class. This is dividing whole numbers, part 2. Alright, let's get right into it. First, we're going to do some review from the last class. Number 1, 71,896 divided by 3. So remember, we had to use an algorithm called long division. You put the dividend inside, you put the divisor outside, and then our answer is going to be the quotient. All right, so how many times does 3 go into 7? It goes 2 times, and then 2 times 3 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. And we always have to bring down the next number, and then we start the entire cycle over again. How many times does 3 go into 11? It goes 3 times, because 3 times 3 is 9. And then 11 minus 9, I forgot to put my subtraction sign there. 11 minus 9 is 2. Then as always, we bring down the next number. How many times does 3 go into 28? It goes 9 times, because 3 times 9 is 27. 28 minus 27 is 1. Again, it's the same cycle over and over again, the same 3 steps. Each cycle has 3 steps. So now we bring down the 9. As usual, we bring down the next number, and then the entire cycle starts over again. How many times is 3 going to 19? It goes 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. 19 minus 18 is 1. And we'd like to be done at that point, but we're not done because there's one more number. Remember, you have to keep going until there's no numbers over here. So we bring down the 6. It comes all the way down to here. And then how many times is 3 going to 16? It goes 5 times. And how do I calculate these numbers so quickly? Well, I know my math facts. I hope you know your math facts. 3 times 5 is 15. And 16 minus 15 is 1. So in this problem, we had a remainder of 1. And we know not to keep going because we don't have any more numbers here. We don't have any more numbers to drop down. So the final answer is 23,965, remainder 1. All right. So again, we're just reviewing here. Let's do the next problem. 96,400 divided by 8. All right, how many times does 8 go into 9? It goes in 1 time. 8 times 1 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. As always, bring down the next number. 8 goes into 16 2 times. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 minus 16 is 0. As always, bring down the next number. We brought down the next number, and 8 still doesn't go into 4. So that means we have to put a 0 up here. Then we bring down the next number. 8 does go into 40. It goes in 5 times. 8 times 5 is exactly 40. And 40 minus, I'm not putting my subtraction signs there. 40 minus 40 is 0. And don't stop there. We've got one more 0 we got to bring down. So bring down that 0, and 8, after bringing down the 0, 8 still doesn't go into 0, right? 8 doesn't go into 0. So after we brought down the number, it still doesn't go in, so we have to put a 0. Final answer is 12,050. All right. Next problem. See if you can try the next problem yourself, and when you're done, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 972,000 divided by 9. How many times is 9 going to 9? 1 time. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 minus 9 is 0. Bring down the 7. 9 doesn't go into 7. So you put a 0 up here. Bring down the next number. 9 goes into 72 exactly 8 times. 9 times 8 is 72. 72 minus 72 is 0. As always, bring down the next number. 9 doesn't go into 0, so we got to put a 0. As always, bring down the next number. 9 doesn't go into 0 still, so we put another 0. And finally, bring down the last 0. And 9 still doesn't go in, so we put another 0. All right, so we had to put 3 zeros there, and our final solution is 108,000. And that's it. So now let's go on to the next problem. So why don't you try the next problem, and when you come back, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 5,476 divided by 4. 4 goes into 5 one time. 4 times 1 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. Bring down the 4. 4 goes into 14 3 times. 4 times 3 is 12. 14 minus 12 is 2. Bring down the 7. 4 goes into 27 6 times. 4 times 6 is 24. 27 minus 24 is 3. Bring down the 6. 4 times 9 is exactly 36. 36 minus 36 is 0. And so our final answer is 1,369. All right, number 5. Go ahead and attempt this problem. When you're done, we'll do it together. All right, 6,180 divided by 3. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. Bring down your 1. 3 doesn't go into 1, so put a 0. Bring down the 8. 3 goes into 18 exactly 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. 18 minus 18 is 0. Bring down a 0. 3 doesn't go into 0. Put a 0. Final answer is 2,060. All right. Now, if you're struggling with this, that means that you didn't do the homework. You should be familiar with this. All right. Try the next problem, see what you can do. And after we're done with this problem, we're going to go on to something that's a little bit different. We're still going to be doing long division in this entire class, but the next problem is going to have some slight differences. All right, we're back. 5,035 divided by 5. 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. Bring down the 0. 5 doesn't go into 0. Put a 0. Bring down a 3. 5 doesn't go into 3. Put a 0. Bring down the 5. 5 goes into 35 7 times. 1,007. All right. None of these problems had remainders, so just be aware of that. Some of these problems will have remainders, some of them won't, but none of those had remainders. All right. So now we're going on to a different type of problem. $592 divided by 8. So as we attempt this problem, you're going to see that there is going to be something slightly different. Set it up as usual. And this is the primary difference between the last class and this class. Now, how many times does 8 go into 5? It doesn't go in. That's the difference between this class and the last class. 8 doesn't go into 5. But here's how you solve that problem. 8 doesn't go into 5, but it does go into 59. So all we have to do is use our multiplication facts. 8 times 5 is 40, not big enough. 8 times 7 is 56. That looks like it's going to be it. 8 times 8 is too big, that's 64. So 8 times 7. Now, when we tried to divide this number into the first number, we always wrote the quotient here. All right? But in this problem, because we're dividing 8 into 59, the quotient is going to go above the last digit of the number we're dividing into. So it's going to be here. So we said 8 goes in 7 times, and we're going to put the 7 here. So you got to be aware of that. You might have you're going to have problems in the future if you don't recognize that. A lot of students will try to put the 7 here, but we didn't go into 50. We didn't go into 5. If 8 went into 5, we put the number here. But since it goes into 59, we got to put it here. Right? You always write the number on top of the last number of the number that we are dividing into. All right? So now we did the first step of the cycle. Now the second step is 8 times 7, as usual, is 56, and it's just the same algorithm we always do. That was the only difference, really, between this class and the last class. That doesn't mean that you can skip all these problems, though. You got to get as much practice in long division as you possibly can. Don't ever skip anything unless I tell you you can skip something. All right, I'll decide how much practice you need. I'm the teacher, you're the student. So it's good that we're doing 2 classes with long division, because long division is huge. It's a huge subject. It's the most difficult thing we've done so far. So you can never have too much practice. I'm not doing this for my own good. I'm doing this for your good. So here we go. 59 minus 56 is 3. And 8 doesn't go into 3. Well, of course it doesn't go into 3. Remember, it's never going to go into 3. We know we did it right because the remainder is smaller than the divisor. So as usual, we always have to bring down the next number. And we start the cycle over again. How many times does 8 go into 32? It goes in 4 times. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 minus 32 is 0. All right? So the final answer is 74. All right, let's go on to the next problem. Let's do this one together, and the next one you can do on your own. 3,427 divided by 4. How many times does 4 go into 3? Well, it doesn't go in. But it does go into 34. All right, 4 times 5 is 20. That's not enough. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 8 is 32. I think that's going to be the biggest we can go. 4 times 8, and you don't put your 8 here. You put your 8 in the last digit of the number we're dividing into, which is 4. So put your 8 above the 4. 4 times 8 is 32. Subtract, as usual. 34 minus 32 is 2. And as usual, bring down the next number. How many times does 4 go into 22? It goes in 5 times, because 4 times 5 is 20. 22 minus 20 is 2. And as always, bring down the next number. And then how many times does 4 go into 27? Well, 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 7 is 28. 7 times is too many, so 4 times 6 is 24. Subtract, and we got a remainder this time. And obviously we're done. That's why we know that 3 is going to be a remainder. So the final answer is 856, remainder 3. All right. So now you attempt the next problem, see what you can do, and when you come back, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 420 divided by 7. 7 doesn't go into 4, but 7 does go into 42. It goes in 6 times if you know your multiplication facts. 7 times 6 is 42. 42 minus 42 is 0. Bring down the next number. 7 doesn't go into 0. So it must be, you must put a 0 next to the 6. And there's no more numbers over here, which means we're done. 60 is the answer. All right. Attempt the next problem, and when you come back, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 205 divided by 5. 5 doesn't go into 2, but it does go into 20. It goes in 4 times. I'm not going to put the 4 there. I'm going to put the 4 over the 0 because that's the last number of the value that we divided into. All right, 5 times 4 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. as always, bring down the next number. 5 goes into 5 one time. 41. Wait a second. 5 times 1 is 5. We're going to do the last cycle there. Remainder is 0. All right. If you did those problems correctly, pat yourself on the back. If you didn't do it correctly, that's okay. We're going to get some more practice here. All right. Attempt the next problem, and when you come back, we'll do it together. All right, 300 divided by 5. 5 doesn't go into 3, but it does go into 30. Again, 5 doesn't go into 3, but it does go into 30. 5 goes into 30 6 times. How do I know that? Well, I memorized my multiplication facts. 5 times 6 is 30. 30 minus 30 is 0. Bring down the next number as usual. 5 doesn't go into 0. So you put a 0. And the answer is 60. I think that was a coincidence. Number 9 was 60 also. All right. Try the next problem, and when you come back, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 1008 divided by 6. 6 doesn't go into 1. 6 doesn't go into 1, but it does go into 10. 6 goes into 10 one time. 6 times 1 is 6. And 10 minus 6, you can do that in your head. You don't really need to borrow from the 1 and make it 0 and then give the 1 to the 0, make it 10, and 10 minus 6 is 4. You don't need to do all that stuff. Just do 10 minus 6 in your head. It's a lot easier. All right, then as always, bring down the next number. How many times does 6 go into 40? It goes 6 times. And notice that I'm lining up my numbers. It's kind of hard to see with all this gobbledygook here, but you get the point. 6 goes into 40 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. 40 minus 36 is 4. Then we're going to bring down the last number. We only got one more number, the 8. One more number to bring down. Bring down the 8. And how many times does 6 go into 48? It goes in 8 times. 6 times 8 is 48. Subtract, and your remainder is 0. Final answer, 168. If you got that problem right, pat yourself on the back. If you didn't, that's okay. We're going to do a lot more practice problems. All right. And be sure to rectangle your answers. If you're not rectangling your answers, then you're not doing it correctly. All right. So now we're going on to something different here. The divisor in these problems, we have 2-digit divisors. All right. So actually, come to think of it, I was saying that the big difference between the last class and this class is that this number is smaller than this number, so we have to go into a two-digit number. But actually, I forgot, we have to divide by 2-digit numbers, so that's actually probably the biggest thing. The biggest difference from this class and the last class is we're dividing now by 2-digit divisors. So all that means is that the calculations are going to be more intense. All right? I'm not going to make you do a huge number of these problems, so relax. Again, you only have this class twice a week. That's it. So no complaining. All right, 2,047 divided by 23. Let's do it. The algorithm is exactly the same. It's just going to be bigger calculations. That's it. All right, 23 into 2,047. All right. Does 23 go into the first number? Obviously not, because 23 is a 2-digit number. Does it go into 20? No, it doesn't. So now you have to figure out, does it go into 204? Well, 23 does go into 204, so that's how this works. You always figure out if your divisor goes into the first number. If it doesn't go into the first number, then you have to add the next number. It becomes 20. And if it doesn't go into that number, you have to add the next number. It becomes 204, and then you just have to keep going, 2047, and so on and so forth. And in case you're wondering, we're not going to divide by two-digit numbers. That's just too intense, and I don't want to do it, you don't want to do it, nobody wants to do it, and it's just not required. So, you know, in the multiplication class, we could have multiplied 5-digit numbers times 5-digit numbers, but why would we want to do that? I mean, it just becomes ridiculous. We don't have the time to do all those calculations. So 2047 divided by 23, how many times is 23 going to 204? Again, it's 23 into 204. So at that point, you're probably thinking, well, whoa, wait a second here. That 23 into 204, that's a lot. Well, you're right. This is going to require multiplying 23. So first we're going to do it the slow way, just to show you how it works. And then as we go into other problems, I'm going to show you some quicker ways to do this. And just to let you know, I personally feel like this is pretty difficult. It's a pretty difficult problem. I don't like dividing by two-digit numbers. I don't think anybody likes dividing by two-digit numbers. So if you're feeling that this is a little laborious, you're right, right? But I'm not going to make you do this a lot, but you do have to know how to do it. So once we're done with this class, we're going to go on to some easier stuff. So don't worry about it. Don't get too frustrated here. 23, we're going to do it 23 times what number goes into 204? Or 23, how many times is 23 going to 204? Let's figure it out. I guess we'll do it over here in the margins. 23, well, how many times do you think it goes in? I don't know. Let's see. Maybe, I don't know, 5, 7, 8. Just try a number, right? Well, if we try 5, 23 times 5, use your multiplication algorithm. 3 times 5 is 15, carry the 1. 5 times 2 is 10, 10 plus 1 is 11, 115. That's nowhere near. All right, so let's try something different. Let's make this smaller and move it up. Get it out of the way. So that was nowhere near, so let's try to be smart. Don't just try random numbers. Let's try to, we have to get, 204 is almost twice as 115. Twice as much as 115, so let's try like 8. 8 or 9. Let's try 9. 23 times 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Carry the 2. 9 times 2 is 18. 18 plus 2 is 20. 207. Wow, that was pretty close. We want 204, but we got 207. But we went over. Remember, you can never go over. So we know it has to be the next number down, not 9, but the next number down. So it's going to be 8. And we're not going to put our 8 here. We're not going to put our 8 here because we didn't divide 23 into 2, and we didn't divide 23 into 20. Okay? We divided 23 into 204, so our number is always going to go above the last number of the value that we're dividing into. And when I say value, I just mean the number. So 8 goes above the 4. All right, so that's the first step of the cycle. It's the same cycle. Even though we're dividing by two-digit numbers, it's the same cycle. Every cycle is 3 steps. The problem is now we have to do 8 times 23. All right, so that's more math there. So 8 times 23. 23 times 8. 24. 8 times 3 is 24. Carry the 2. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 plus 2 is 18. 184. So you put your 184 down here. It's the same algorithm. We're doing the same thing. It's just bigger numbers. That's it. So now you subtract. 4 minus 4 is 0. 0 minus 8, we can't do that. So we have to borrow from the 2. The 2 becomes 1. And you give that 1 to the 0. 0 becomes 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. And 1 minus 1 is 0. But I don't like to put the 0 there. All right, so that was one full cycle. So it's the same 3 steps. It's just we're dealing with bigger numbers. That's the only difference. And again, I'm not going to overburden you with a lot of these types of problems. We're just going to do a few of these problems, and then we're going to go on to the next class. Well, we're not going to go on to the next class today, but we're going to go on to the next subject. Alrighty. So now, as usual, this remainder should be smaller than the divisor, and it is. So far it doesn't look like there's any problems. As usual, we have to bring down the next number, and then we have 207. Now we start the second cycle. Again, just like all the other division problems we did, we're cycling. Now, at this point, you can try to figure out how many times 23 goes into 207 and try multiplying random numbers again. But that wouldn't make much sense because we already know 23 times 9 is exactly 207. So try to use the information you've already developed to figure out the rest of the problem. So it goes in 9 times. 9 times goes here. 9 times, and then we have to do 23 times 9, which is obviously, again, we already calculated that, which is 207, and then subtract. Our remainder is 0. We've got no more numbers here, which means that we're done. The final answer is 89. Put a big old rectangle over that. Now, look what happens. Let's say that you were trying to grade this paper, let's say that you were a parent trying to look at your child's paper, or you're a teacher trying to look at a paper, or just anybody trying to look at this paper. And if I don't rectangle that 89, look at this. Where's the answer? How do I know where the answer is? Well, once I rectangle it, boom, I can immediately see what the answer is. So the whole point of rectangling your answers is just to make it easier for the reader. That's the whole point of math courses, is to learn how to read and write mathematics. All right, so we're learning how to write mathematics so that somebody can read it more easily. All right, on to the next problem. Let's do one more of these before you try one on your own. 5,073 divided by 89. 89 does not go into 5. It doesn't go into 50, but it does go into 507. So how many times does it go in? I don't know. But again, you could multiply, but let's try to think of a slightly smarter way to figure out what number to multiply, because we don't want to multiply 89 times 2, 89 times 3, 89 times 4. We want to start with a number that's going to be close to 507. So here's an easier way to do this, or something that helps. Isn't it true that 89 is close to 100? I mean, it's not super close. It's not like 99 or 98, but it's close to 100, so we can just pretend that number is 100. Now, how many times does 100 go into 507? Well, that's pretty simple. It goes in about 5 times. 5 times 100 is 500, so that's pretty close to 507. So 89 is pretty close to 100, which means we can try 5. That's going to be pretty darn close. So that's one way to speed up this process, is by rounding off the divisor and then using that rounding off method to estimate how many times it goes in. Then you check your estimate. 89 times 5. 5 times 9 is 45. Carry the 4. 8 times 5 is 40. Plus 4 is 44. 445. All right. And we could go one more time, but let's just see if that works. All right. I'm going to put a divider here so we don't get mixed up here. It's really good to put dividers, by the way, if your work starts to get mixed up like this. It's all about order. Order. Neatness, order. There's no point in writing anything down on the paper unless you're going to be orderly. All right, so let's try this, and we're going to test it. We're going to see if that works. So we're going to put 5 times, not over the 5, not over the 0, but over the 7, because it's 89 into 507. 89 times 5 is 445. Now, when we subtract and get our remainder, this remainder should be smaller than 89. If it's not smaller, we know we did something wrong. All right, 7 minus 5 is 2. 0 minus 4 we can't do, so we borrow from the 5, becomes 4. And 0, give 1 to 0, it becomes 10. 10 minus 4 is 6, 62. And 4 minus 4 is 0. 62 is smaller than 89. So everything looks good so far. So now, as usual, we're done with the first cycle. As usual, we bring down the next number. And now we have to figure out how many times 89 goes into 623. So again, I don't know how many times it goes in, but I'm just gonna estimate. I'm gonna pretend that 89 is 100, and I'm gonna say, okay, I know 100 goes into 623 about 6 times, because 6 times 100 is 600. All right, so I'm gonna say 6 times. All right, it could be 7 times. I have a feeling it could be 7 times, but let's try 6. So 89 times 6. 9 times 6 is 54. 8 times 6 is 48. Plus 5 is 53. 534. All right. So put your 6 up here. 6 times 89 is 534. Now, if you subtract, what you're going to get is, I'm going to speed through this, 66, 76, 86, 89. All right, so we got 89. We got a problem here. Okay, our remainder is 89. That's not good. This number has to be smaller than this number. Okay, it's not smaller. It's the same size, which means we need to go in one more time. 89 can go in 7 times because we know we have an 89 left over. All right, again, the remainder has to be smaller. The remainder has to be smaller than the divisor, or else this algorithm doesn't work. So we're going to take that 6, we're going to erase it, and we're going to put a 7. It's got to be 7. All right, so 7 times 89, I'm going to do that in my head. That would be 560 plus 63 is 600 and, well, first of all, I got to erase this stuff. It's going to be 560 plus 63 is 623. So it goes in exactly. 623. 623 minus 623 is 0. And so we have no more numbers here to keep going. We already dropped down the 3, right? So our final answer is 57. 57. We're doing good. All right, let's put another border here. So why don't you try 15, and when you come back, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 87,171 divided by 67. 67 doesn't go into 8, but it does go into 87. 67 goes into 87 one time. And notice that I put the all right, let's go on to the next problem. Number 15. We're going to do one more together before you try one on your own. 87,171 divided by 67. 67 goes into, it doesn't go into 8, but it does go into 87. So in all the other problems, we had to extend the numbers all the way out to the third number because the divisor didn't go into the first number or the second number, but it did go into the combination of all of those 3 numbers. In this case, 67, the divisor does go into the first 2 numbers. So what that means is that when you figure out how many times 67 goes into 87, you put your number here. Not here, not here. You put it here. And the reason that is because the number we're dividing into is 87, and the last digit of 87 is 7. So we put our number right above the 7. That's very important. It's going to become really, really important when we learn these algorithms with decimals. All right. The good news is when you add the decimals, the algorithm is going to be exactly the same, except you just have to remember where the decimal goes, which is really easy. All right. 67 goes into 87 how many times? Well, I think that's pretty obvious. It goes in 1 time, and we put the 1 above the 7. 1 times 67 is 67. Subtract 67 from 87. 87 minus 67. 7 minus 7 is 0. 8 minus 6 is 2. That's 20. As always, we got to bring down the next number. Bring down the 1. Now, how many times does 67 go into 201? Well, I'm going to try 3 times. And I'm going to do this in my head because I don't want to bore you here. 3 times 67 is 201. Just so happened that it ended up the exact number there. All right, 201 minus 201 is 0. All right, so as usual, we have to bring down the next number. After we bring down the next number, 67 still doesn't go in. So you know what that means? We have to put a 0 up here. So now we bring down another number. The last number is 1. And now 67, that does go into 71. And it goes in obviously 1 time, so we put our 1 up here. 67 times 1 is 67, and the remainder is 4. Remainder is 4. All right, so the final answer is 1,301, remainder 4. All right. So that's pretty much how this stuff works. Now we're going on to number 16. Now it's time for you to try. Attempt the problem and see what you can do. And then when you're done, we'll come back and do it together. All right, here we go. 2,589 divided by 33. 33 doesn't go into 2, it doesn't go into 25, but it does go into 258. All right, so 33 times whatever number, just figure out how many times 33 goes in. So you're going to multiply 33 times 5, 33 times 7, 33 times 9, and just get a feel for how many times it's going to go in. But now I told you that I was going to give you some faster methods for doing this. I told you about the estimation method, right? So let's try another estimation method here. Let's round 33 to 30. So let's just pretend that this divisor is 30. All right? So 30 is going to be a lot easier to multiply. So let's try 5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 3 is 15. Now here's the key. 5 times 3 is 15. And then because there was a 0 here, all you did was just add a 0. So do you see that? It makes it a lot easier. So 5 times 30 is 115. 5 times 33, that's a lot more difficult. So that's why we rounded it off to 30. So 5 times 30 was not big enough. So what about 7 times 30? 7 times 30 would be 210. We're starting to get there. What about 8 times 30 would be another 30, so that would be 240. And it looks like that's going to be it, 8 times. So we're gradually starting to learn faster and faster ways to do this. So let's put our 8 here. We don't put our 8 here, and we don't put our 8 here because 33 doesn't go into 2, and it doesn't go into 25. It goes into 258. So we have to put our number above the last digit of the value we're dividing into. All right. 8 times 33 is 256, I believe. 240 plus 24 is 250, 264. Pretty sure. 258 minus 256 is just 2. And go ahead and, as usual, bring down the 9. All right, I multiplied 8 times 33 incorrectly. That's okay. If you make a mistake, no big deal. Just go back and fix it. 8 times 33 would be 240 plus 24 is 264. 264 is too big. It's bigger than 258. No big deal. Let's try. What did I try? I tried 8. Let's try 7. 33 times 7 is 210 plus 21, so 231. All right, 8 minus 1 is 7. 5 minus 3 is 2. And 2 minus 2 is 0, but you don't have to put the 0. All right, as always, bring down the next number. Now 33 into 279. We know that 33 times 8 was 264, I believe. So it's going to be 8. So we put our 8 above the 9. 8 times 33 is 264. 240 plus 24, 264. 279 minus 264. 9 minus 4 is 5. 7 minus 6 is 1. So the remainder is 15. So our final answer is 78. Remainder 15. And we know we stopped there because there's no more numbers here to bring down. 9 was the last number. And again, remember, you got to be lining up your numbers. We've got these numbers all lined up. We've got these numbers all lined up. And we've got these numbers all lined up. Well, they could be lined up better, but you got the point. All right, number 17. Why don't you attempt this problem, and when you come back, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 2,200 divided by 55. 55 doesn't go into 2. It doesn't go into 22, but it does go into 220. All right, so I'm going to use my rounding off method. I'm going to pretend that 55 is 50. And I know 50 plus 50 is 100. That's 2 times. Plus another 50 is 150. Plus another 50 is 200, so that's 4 times. I bet it's going to go in 4 times. I'm going to try 4 times. So 50 times 55 times 4. Now again, you can write the numbers over here, but you've already done the problem, so I'm going to assume that you already kind of know what's going on here. So 4 times 55, that's going to be 220. Subtract, you get 0. Bring down the next number as always, and 55. After you bring down the next number, 55 still doesn't go into 0, so you put a 0 up here, and it's 40. 40 is the answer. All right, try the next number, see what you can do, and when you come back, we'll do it together. All right, we're back. 61,642 divided by 49. 49 doesn't go into 6, but it does go into 61. It goes in 1 time. Now I put my 1 above the 1 on the 61. It always goes above the last number of the value that you're dividing into. All right, 49 times 1 is 49, and you can use your subtraction algorithm, but it's a lot faster to just do that in your head. 61 minus 49 is 12. But remember, you can borrow from the 6 and make it a 5 and then give that 1 to the 1. It becomes 11. 11 minus 9, so on and so forth. You can do all that stuff if you want. All right, so as usual, we bring down the next number. Now we have to do 49 into 126. Now, I think it's pretty obvious. It's got to go in about 2 times. Maybe 3, probably 2. So let's put the 2 here. And then 2 times 49, that's going to be 98, I believe. 126 minus 98. Now again, you can do your borrowing thing. 6 minus 8 we can't do. We got to borrow from the 2. That becomes a 1. 6 becomes 16. 16 minus 8 is 8. Now we can't do 1 minus 9. So we have to borrow from this 1 over here. That becomes a 0. Then we give the 1 to the 1. It becomes 11. 11 minus 9 is 2. And we have 28. So now, as usual, we bring down the next number. We get 4. 49 into 284. I'm going to pretend that 49 is 50 again, or else it becomes really difficult. 50 plus 50 plus 50 plus 50 is 200, plus another 50 is 250. And it's probably going to be 3 times, it looks like. So 3 times 49, that would be 147, I believe. 120 plus 27 is 147. What am I thinking? I wasn't even close. I think I meant 5 times. Let's try 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I meant 5 times. Sorry. 5 times 49 is 245. 245. Subtract 245 from 284, and you're going to get 39. All right, and bring down the last number. We're almost done. 49 into 392. Sheesh, that number is even bigger than the last number. But we know 49 times 5 is 245. So we have building blocks to set a foundation here. So 49 times 5 is not going to be big enough because that's only 245. So let's try 49 times 7. Let's try it over here. 49 times 7. But again, we don't want to do that. It's going to take too long. So let's round it off to 49, or 7 times 50. Instead of 49, we're writing 50. Now, why do we do that? Because 50 is a multiple of 10. It's a lot easier to multiply. We just do 7 times 5 is 35, and then add a 0. 350. All right. So that's pretty close there. So it looks like it's going to be... Looks like it's going to be 7 times. Or I have a feeling it's going to be 8 times. Right, it's pretty close there. I'm just not sure what it's going to be, but I think it's going to be 8 times. So just to save time, let's try 8. So now 8 times 49. Let's do that in my head. That'll be 320 plus 72 is 392. There we go. See, it's the same algorithm. The only difference is we're just doing bigger numbers. 392 minus 392 is 0. And your final answer is 1,258. All right, and you can put dividers here to make it easier for the reader. All right, on to the next problem set. 6,675 divided by 75. Try these problems. You can try the next 3 if you want. And when you come back, we'll do them together. You're doing good so far. All right, here we go. 6,675 divided by 75. 75 doesn't go into 6 or 66, so it has to go into 667. And that would be, I'm going to try 8. Eight would be 600 times, so it looks like I got it right. Subtract, you get 67, which means our divisor is less than our remainder is less than our divisor. So that means everything looks good so far. Bring down the next number. How many times is 75? Go into 675. Well, again, you can take 75 and you can multiply it by a bunch of numbers to, figure out what that is, but I'm just going to pretend that 75 is 100. I want to pretend that this number is 100. That's what I did here. So if 75 is 100, then 100 times 6 is 600. And 100 times 7 is 700. So it's got to be around 6 or 7, but 75 is less than 100. So whatever my estimate was, in this case my estimate was I think 6, is going to go in a lot more times because 75 is smaller than 100, so it's going to go in a lot more times. So instead of 6, I'm going to try 7, and hopefully that's going to give us the number, but I don't really know. 7 times 70 is 490, plus 35 is 525. That number wasn't even close. So let's try 8. 8 times 75, that's 560, plus 40 is 600. I think it can go in one more time, because if we add one more 75, then we go from 600 to 75. You see how this process works? If you get the wrong number, that's okay. Now 75 times 9. 75 times 9, we're using the same cycling we did in the last class, same cycling we did in the last 10, 15 problems. 75 times 9 is, I believe, exactly 675. 675 minus 675 is 0. And we don't have any more numbers here, so we don't have to keep going. All right, final answer is 89. All right, next one. 79,268 divided by 66. 66 goes into 7 no times. It goes into 79 one time. 66 times 1 is 66. 79 minus 66 is 13. As always, bring down the next number. 66 goes into 132, I believe, exactly 2 times. 132 minus 132 is 0. Bring down the next number, which is 6. 66 doesn't go into 6. After we brought down the number 6, 66 still doesn't go into it. So we put a 0 there. Now we bring down the last number to get 68. 66 goes into 68 one time, obviously. And 1 times 66 is 66. And 68 minus 66 is 2. And we have no more numbers here. So the final answer is 1,201. Let me move that over. 1,201. Remainder 2. Running out of room here. All right, let's put borders here. That'll help us. Don't hesitate to put borders. All right, next one, 95,964 divided by 22. 22 goes into 9 no times. It goes into 95 4 times, I believe. 4 times 22 is 88. 95 minus 88 is 7. Bring down the next number. 22 goes into 79 7 times. 7 times 22 is 140, plus 14 is 150. No, that was too many times. 7 is too many times. It goes in, let's see. I mean 3 times. I meant 3 times, sorry. 3 times 22 is 66. 79 minus 66 is 13. Bring down the next number, which is a 6. 22 into 136, it goes, I believe, 6 times. 6 times 22 is 132. Wait. 120 plus 12 is, 132. 136 minus 132 is 4. Bring down the last number. And now 22, how many times does 22 go into 44? It goes in 2 times. 2 times 22 is exactly 44. Remainder 0. Our final answer is 4,362. All right, on to the next problem. Let's see here. I think these word problems are the last problems now. All right, so if you've made it this far, you're doing really good. We've only got, I believe, 2 more problems. I'm really proud of you. All right, number 22. A small sailboat moves at 29 miles per hour. If the ship's captain wants to sail from San Diego to Japan, 5,626 miles, how many days will he be at sea? Now notice it says these are challenge problems. Actually 22 is a challenge problem. 23 is a regular problem. So let me, that's kind of confusing. Let me move that over here. Move this up. Sorry about that. 23 is a regular problem. Let's do that one first. And then we can worry about the challenge problem later. There we go. 23. Let's do the eider duck problem first. All right, the eider duck, that's a type of a duck, a bird. The eider duck flies 4,606 miles in 98 hours, not including rest time, of course. What is the unit rate of the eider duck, i.e. the number of miles he flies in 1 hour? So, in case you don't know, i.e. means clarification. So, if you don't know what the unit rate is, that means the number of miles he flies in 1 hour. We don't have the number of miles he flies in 1 hour. We have the number of miles he flies in 98 hours. So what we have to do is we have to take the number of miles he flies in 98 hours, and we have to take that number and divide it into 98 equal parts, and we have to figure out how big each one of those parts is, and that's the answer. We're done. So we're going to take 4,606 and divide it into 98 parts. 4,606, should start higher up, divided by 98. 98 doesn't go into 4, it doesn't go into 46, but it does go into 460. 98, let's see. Now, again, there's a lot of math going on here, so let's try to be smart here. 98, that's close to 100, right? So let's just pretend that 98 is 100. So how many times does 100 go into 460? Well, that should be pretty easy to calculate. It obviously goes in about 4 times. So we're not just choosing random numbers here. We're trying to be smart. So let's put the 4. The 4 doesn't go above the 4 doesn't go above the 6. It goes above the 0. All right, 98 times 4. Well, we know 4 times 100 is 400. So 4 times 98 is going to be pretty close to 400. You can do it over here if you want. 4 times 8 is 32. Carry the 3. 4 times 9 is 36. 36 plus 3 is 39. 392. I'm going to write that smaller. Try to fit it in the lines. Subtract 460 minus 392. Again, you can borrow from the 6 if you want. Do all that type of stuff, but I'm just going to subtract. 460 minus 392 is 68. All right. As usual, bring down well, first of all, let's verify that we did it correctly. The remainder is less than the divisor, so that's a good sign we did it correctly. So it is going to be 4 times. If the remainder was greater than the divisor, then we'd know we didn't go in enough times. And the algorithm will not work if you make that mistake. So bring down the next number as usual. The next number is 6. So how many times is 98 going to 686? We're almost done. Well, again, pretend that 98 is 100. 100 goes into 686 about 6 times maybe. But I have a feeling it's going to be 7 because 98 is less than 100. I don't know. We'll see. So let's try 7 times. 7 times 98. Again, you can do that over here, or over here, or over here. But for time reasons, I'm just going to go ahead and multiply. 98 times 7 is 630. 630 plus 56 is 686, exactly. Remainder is 0. So the eider duck flies 47 miles in 1 hour. Or we could just put mph for miles per hour. All right. And 47 miles in 1 hour, because it's the number of miles in 1 hour. Again, 1 is a special number, right? It's a number that helps us perform calculations. 47 miles in 1 hour. The number of miles in 1 hour is called the unit rate, right? We're going to go over that again later on in this class, or in this course. So the duck goes 47 miles per hour. All right? That's one of the fastest birds that can fly in, I don't know, something about that duck. I read it flies faster than most birds. But I think the peregrine falcon is actually the fastest bird. All right. Next problem. Now this is a challenge problem. See if you can do this problem on your own, and then let's read it first. A small sailboat moves at 29 miles per hour. If the ship's captain wants to sail from San Diego to Japan, 5,626 miles, how many days will he be at sea? The reason this is a challenge problem is because it's asking how many days he'll be at sea. All right. We're given the speed in miles per hour. Hour and days, that's a different unit of time. All right. So let's read it again. A small sailboat moves at 29 miles per hour. So the sailboat is moving 29 miles in 1 hour. If the ship's captain wants to sail, so by the way, 29 miles per hour, that's the unit rate we were talking about in the eider duck problem. Because it's the number of miles in 1 hour, that's called the unit rate. If your parents are driving 50 miles per hour, that's called the unit rate, because it's 50 miles per hour per 1 hour. 50 miles in 1 hour. All right? The unit rates are the most useful rates. That's why we use them so much in the real world. A small sailboat moves at 29 miles per hour. If the ship's captain wants to sail from San Diego to Japan, 5,626 miles, how many days will he be at sea? All right. So the total distance from San Diego to Japan is 5,626 miles. And his rate is 29 miles for every 1 hour. So see if you can figure out this problem. And when you're done, come back and we'll do it together. All right, we're back. So 5,626 miles from San Diego to Japan. The sailboat moves 29 miles in 1 hour. So 29 miles in 1 hour, then another 29 miles is another hour, and another 29 miles is another hour, and you keep going 29 plus 29 plus 29 plus 29 plus 29 plus 29 until you get to 5,626. And you want to figure out how many times 29 goes into 5,626. This is a really easy problem to understand. If I gave you this problem and asked you to figure out, you'd figure it out eventually. But in this class, we're going to use the quick algorithm. The algorithm we've been using in all the previous problems. So we want to figure out how many times 29 goes into 5,626. That's the same thing as a division problem. So 5,626 divided by 29. 29 doesn't go into 5, but it does go into 56. And it goes in one time. 1 times 29 is 29. 56 minus 29 is 27. All right, bring down the next number as usual. 29 into 272. That's going to go, now I'm going to round this off. I'm going to round this number off to 30. I'm going to pretend that number is 30. Now it's going to be really easy to multiply 30. How many times does 30 go into 272? I don't know. Let's try maybe 8. So that would be 240. That's pretty close. What about 9? If we try 9, 30 times 9. 9 times 3 is 27. And because we're multiplying by 30, we just add a 0. 270, so that's going to be it. 9 times. 29 times 9. You can do that on paper, or you can just, I'm going to just do it in my head to make things go a little faster. 29 times 9 is... I think that number's might be a little... Actually, let's see here. 180 plus 81 is 271, 261. I think I did something wrong here. Let's see. No, 261. See, some of these, the numbers are, they're difficult to calculate sometimes. All right? So having trouble there. All right, 272 minus 261. That's going to be 2 minus 1 is 1. 7 minus 6 is 1. And as usual, bring down the next number. And we know we did it correctly because the 11 is smaller than the 29, right? It can't be the same size and it can't be bigger. Bring down the last number there. And now we've got 116. How many times does 29 go into 116? Well, we know 29 times 9 is 261, so it's going to be a lot less than 9. Again, we can just pretend that 29 is 30 and try some numbers over here. 30 times 5, that would be 150. That's way too big. What about 30 times 3? That would be 90. So I think it's going to be 30 times 4. So let's try 4. 4 times 29, that's 80 plus 36, which is 116. All right, so it takes 194 hours to sail from San Diego to Japan. So let's erase all this stuff. Actually, let's keep that stuff. I want you to be able to have that in case you want it, I guess. Let's shrink this stuff, move it up. All right, so 191 hours, or 194 hours. That's how long it takes them to sail from San Diego to Japan. That's a long way, so it takes quite a while. All right, so you're thinking that's the answer, but it's not the answer. Remember, this is a challenge problem. They're not asking for the number of hours. All right, they don't want the number of hours that it takes to sail from San Diego to Japan. That was just part 1 of the problem. In fact, let me move all this over. Take this, put it over here. Take this, put it over here, and we'll shrink it a little bit. All right, put a border here. Remember, you got to always order your work. So 194 hours, that's part 1. Part 1 was figuring out how many hours it takes. But we don't want the number of hours, we want the number of days. All right? So I forgot to write in this problem, there are 24 hours in one day. You may know that, you may not know that. But if you look up on the internet, you can find it's 24 hours in 1 day. So there are 194 hours total, and we need to see how many times 24 goes into 194. So 194 divided by 24. And that's going to give us our final answer. That's going to give us the number of days that it takes to go from San Diego to Japan at 29 miles per hour. All right, so 24 doesn't go into 1, it doesn't go into 9, but it does go into 194. Let's try maybe 7 times. 7 times 24 is 168. That's not enough. So let's try 8 times. 8 times 24 is 192. Looks like that's the closest we're going to get. So in this problem, we're going to have a remainder. 194 minus 192 is 2. We have a remainder. So that means 24 fits into 194 8 times. So there's 8 days, right? But there's a remainder of 2. So there's 2 more hours. So we say 8, we can say 8 days and 2 hours. Or we can just say it'll take a little more than 8 days. So I think I'll do that. Or you could say a little over 8 days, however you want to word it. And I forgot to put an L on that slightly. All right, so here's your homework. Get a screenshot of that. And that should be good enough. Remember to write the title, write your name, the date, the course, number every single problem and circle every number, write the original problem, write the answer, and if you don't check your answers to make sure that you got them right, then that means you're wasting all of your time. Every single second of your time that you're doing this is completely wasted if you don't check to make sure you got the right answer. And if you don't check to make sure you got the right answer, that means you don't care. And if you don't care, don't do these problems in the first place. All right, just drop out of school because there's no point. There's no point in even going to school unless you're going to learn something. All right, so be sure to do the homework completely and correctly. And there's only 16 problems this time because long division problems are hard, but just keep in mind that there's only 16 problems. So I'm reducing the number because I know that these can be kind of laborious. All right, so I'll look forward to seeing you in the next class.